In this episode, you will learn about the water cycle, or as scientists say, the hydrological cycle. Did you know that all the water found on Earth today is the same since the formation of the planet itself? Indeed, water is a renewable resource, which means that it recycles itself thanks to a process called the hydrological cycle. According to scientists, there are about 1,386,000,000 cubic kilometers of water on Earth. Wow! That's more than 700 Olympic stadiums put together. That's a lot of water. In fact, water covers more than 70% of the Earth's surface, which is why we call it the blue planet. Do you know where most of the water on Earth is stored? Is it oceans and seas, lakes and rivers, glaciers, snow and ice, or underground water? The answer is oceans and seas. On Earth, 97% of water is salt water, and only 3% is fresh, drinkable water. So, there's much more salt water than fresh water. Water is stored in many different places on Earth, but also in different states. It can be liquid, as you see in lakes and rivers. It can be solid when it's very cold, forming ice and snow. And it can be gaseous when hot, as you see when it's foggy outside or when steam is rising from boiling water. The hydrological cycle represents how water travels from one body of water to another, or from one place to the next. For example, a water droplet can be seen hanging out in a river and then go all the way out to the ocean. But how does it go from one place to the next? Do water droplets travel by plane? By boat? Of course not! 3 processes help water circulate on the planet. Our first process occurs when water heats up under the sun's rays. Our water droplet then becomes hot, turns to gas, and rises towards the sky. We call this process evaporation. The second process occurs as our water droplet, turned to gas and rises in the atmosphere, is surrounded with many other droplets just like it. Once they all reach a certain height, and the air becomes colder, turning from gas to liquid. We call this process condensation. The droplets stuck together form a beautiful cloud in the sky. Our little droplet is then carried by the wind, sitting comfortably in its fluffy little cloud. Finally, the third process occurs when water in the cloud becomes too heavy. That's when the water leaves the cloud, falling as rain or snow. Our droplet falls from its cloud and lands in a new place. We call this process precipitation. Let's see if you understood the water cycle by doing an experiment. We'll be able to see how water shifts from one state to the other in the atmosphere. The required material is a transparent glass or container, some hot water, a lid, a match, and some ice cubes. Before you start this experiment, you'll need an adult to help you out. We'll begin by pouring hot water in the glass or container. This represents the water in the ocean being heated by the sun. We can observe steam coming from the water and sticking to the sides of the container. Now, our scientist will do a delicate step. This is when you'll need the adult. She will light up a match, place it in the container quickly, and close the lid. This way, she'll capture the smoke particles inside the container. In reality, the air present in the container between the water level and the lid represents the atmosphere or the sky, and the smoke coming from the match represents different particles that we can find in the air on Earth, such as pollution, pollen, volcano ashes, or other dust particles. The last step of this experiment is to place some ice cubes on top of the lid, which cool down the water vapor present in the container, causing it to condense on the smoke particles to create a cloud. Even if you look closely, you cannot see through our container anymore because of the thickness of the cloud. It's the same process that happens in real life. The sun heats up water in the ocean, and the water vapor rises into the sky. Then it cools down and sticks to air particles to form a big cloud. That cloud is then pushed away by the wind and falls down somewhere else as precipitation, rain or snow. As we said earlier, there's less fresh water than salt water on Earth. We use fresh water daily in our homes for many purposes, some of which are doing the dishes, cooking, drinking, taking a shower or a bath, and even flushing the toilet. We also use fresh water to grow our food and make our clothes. In Canada, we even use the water in our rivers to produce electricity. However, fresh water is not easily accessible everywhere on Earth. For example, someone living in the desert will probably have a much harder time finding water than someone living here in Canada. In our country, there are many bodies of fresh water such as lakes and rivers, making fresh water so accessible for us. That's why it's important for us to be careful about the way we consume water every day. We're lucky to have access to this precious resource and we need to preserve it. Here are some ideas to reduce your water consumption at home. Turning off the tap when brushing your teeth, trying to beat a record in taking the shortest shower. Every minute less in the shower saves about 9 liters of water. Collecting rainwater in a barrel to water plants and the grass around your house instead of using the sprinkler. Or, instead of running your sprinkler during the day, run the sprinkler at night to avoid all that water becoming gas and floating away, like in our experiment. That's it for today's episode. Did you learn stuff about our water and why it's important to preserve it? If so, you click the like button at the bottom of this video. You can also try our quiz, Climate Change and Me, on our website. Challenge yourself on what you've learned today and try a surprising experiment at home. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in another episode of Climate Change and Me.